In this video, we're going to work on our next example with state. So let's talk about what we're going to build. All right, so from a UI perspective, this is going to look kind of similar to the counter application we just put together. At the very top, we're going to show a simple button that says Add Color. Whenever a user taps on this, we're then going to generate a random color and show it in a very little box underneath that button. So maybe the first color we generate randomly would be red, and we would show that right underneath. Then if a user taps on that button again, I want to generate a new color at random. Maybe the next one is like yellow. And then every time the user taps on that button, we're going to show another randomly colored box, like so. And the first thing I want to tell you about handling colors inside of React Native, because we haven't really discussed this just yet, we can designate a color inside of a React Native application by using an RGB value. So in other words, if we want to indicate a color red right here, we can create a view element, assign it a height and width, and then also give it a background color property. And that would have a value of like RGB, and then a value of red, which would be maybe like, whatever, and then green, and then blue. So that's how we would generate a color with React Native, or I should say assign a color. So we would have one RGB value for that box, another one for that box, and so on. And each of these different RGB things would probably be a string. So with that in mind, let's take a look at those 3 questions that we went over previously and try to answer them for this application. So first off, what piece of data is changing inside of our app? Well, I think there's going to be like maybe an array of colors of sorts, where maybe the array is going to have all these different RGB strings inside of it. So if I had to apply a name to that, maybe I'd just say like the piece of data that's changing is like colors. It's a list of colors that we want to show. You might be thinking that there are actually maybe 2 pieces of data here. Maybe one would be like the number of times the user has tapped that button. And so that would be like the number of squares that we need to show here. And then a second piece that would be the different colors. But in reality, we can condense that down to just this one single value, just an array of string colors. That's it. So what type of data is it? Well, I'd say it's an array of strings. And by default, when our application first starts up, we probably don't want to show any boxes at all. So the starting value for this piece of state would be an empty array. Okay, so with all that in mind, let's now flip back over to our editor. We're going to once again put together some boilerplate for a React component and then show it inside of our app. Okay, so back over here, inside my screens directory, I'll make a new file called colorscreen.js. And then as usual, let's put some boilerplate inside of here. So I'll import React. From React, I'll get view style sheet. And I don't think we need text, but we definitely need button. From React Native, I'll then create my color screen component. And you know what? Well, actually, we don't need any text. What am I saying here? Let's just return a view. I was going to say we need some text to just get some temporary stuff inside of here. Well, let's just put the button in because we've done that enough. So I'll put a button inside of here with a title of add a color. And then for right now, I'm not going to add in an onPress callback. We'll add that in a little bit later. Then after that, I'll put in my style sheet. As I mentioned on the last screen we put together, we have not really been using the style sheet, but usually by convention, we like to just throw this line inside of here so we can easily come back to a component and add in some styles right away. And then I'll throw my export default color screen at the bottom. All right, so there's our boilerplate. Now, as usual, we're going to make sure that we wire this thing up to our stack navigator and then add a new button to our home screen component. So back inside of app.js, I'm going to import color screen from source screens color screen. I'll add in a new option for my routing object right here of color, and that's going to take us to color screen. And then finally, inside of my home screen, inside the screens directory, here's my home screen. And I'm going to duplicate one of these button elements at the bottom. I'll update the title to go to color demo. And then we'll update the navigate call once again. So I'll navigate to simply color. Okay, let's save all these files that we've edited, and we'll do a quick test. So there's the new button. I'll click on go to color demo, and there's our button. And I'll test this out on Android really quickly as well. And there's the button. Very good. Okay, so let's take a quick pause right here. When we come back to the next section, we're going to add in our state variable and then make sure that we modify that state variable over time every time we tap on that button. So quick pause and I'll see you in just a minute.